Hi, I'm your host, Rick Sessinghouse, and excited to launch Flow Golf Podcast. Each episode, we will share stories, interview experts, and share cutting-edge strategies for peak performance. Here's my co-host, Hallam Morgan, to explain more about FlowCode Golf.
Thanks, Rick. FlowCode Golf is a framework of strategies, principles, and techniques that take us from fear to the state of flow, the state of optimal performance, and the zone where we play our best golf. You can find out more about FlowCode Golf at www.flowcode.golf. And I just want to finish up by saying this podcast is as much your podcast as it is ours. So please ask questions, provide feedback, and get engaged. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Welcome back to another session, guys. I'm super excited to have you all here listening in. Today, we're going to be discussing the performance loop. And the performance loop is one of the most powerful and simple frameworks that we teach at FlowCode. And the reason that I think it's so important is because it explains to us how the training you do with FlowCode will help you shoot lower scores. Now, I know that every single person listening here wants to hit great golf shots and shoot lower scores. And you want to enjoy yourself while you do that. So that's exactly what the performance loop explains. So the performance loop has 9 steps on it. We have focus, we have present-based questions, we have thoughts, we have emotions, we have our state, we have the swing or the stroke, we have the result, the outcome of the shot, we have post-shot routine, then we have emotional response, and then we come all the way back around to the top where we focus again on the next shot. So we have 9 steps on that performance loop. And that performance loop essentially breaks down our experience every single time we walk into a golf shot. We walk into the golf shot and we start with focus. Flow follows focus. That then creates a thought. The thought creates an emotion. The emotion creates a state. The state impacts your golf swing. Your golf swing creates the outcome of the shot. And then we have an emotional response. And as we get to the next shot, we're back to focus again. So this loop just keeps on happening. Now, my question for you, if anyone can remember the 9 steps that I explained, my question for you rhetorically is, which out of those 9 steps do you think we believe is most important? And you can answer this in your head. But at FlowCode, we believe out of those 9 steps, the most important step and where we put our focus initially is on step number 7, which is the result or outcome. Now, that might surprise a few listeners because we've all heard in the past, it's not about the result, it's all about the process, which we agree with. But the reality is, if we don't know what result we're trying to achieve, how do we know what the process should be? For example, if I want to win a major championship, my process is going to look very different compared to me just wanting to beat my friends on the weekend. So the result, the destination that we're heading for, will dictate the process that we need to implement. The other part to this is that we want you all to be excited about the opportunity to hit great golf shots and shoot low scores. We don't want you to fear it as a threat. We want you to get excited. It's an opportunity to do something great. Get excited about the opportunity to hit great golf shots and shoot lower scores. Embrace it. Now, if we embrace that we all want to hit great golf shots and shoot lower scores, now is the time that we reverse engineer back. What leads to a great golf shot? What creates a great golf shot? Well, first of all, your golf swing absolutely does matter. Club face tells the ball where to go. Physics doesn't lie. Keep working on your golf swings. Keep working on your putting strokes. It absolutely plays a role in performance. But I'm not going to talk about that today. I want to talk about what impacts your golf swing. So again, another rhetorical question. But if you're listening here, have you ever had a moment where you're stood on the driving range before a round of golf and you're flushing every single shot? Everything feels calm. Everything feels smooth. You're hitting great shots. Swing feels amazing. And then you take that 5-minute walk to the first tee box. You stand up on that first tee. First shot of the day. And it all falls apart. I've been there. I'm sure every single person listening has been there at some point in their golfing journey. And my question to you is why? Why is it that we were flushing it on the range and then 5 minutes later, it all falls apart? Did we all of a sudden just forget how to swing a golf club? I don't think so. What I believe is that as we went from the range to the first tee box, the only thing that changed was our state. Our mental, emotional, and physical state shifted. And when that state shifted, it impacted our golf swing because our heart rate increased, our grip pressure became tight, and our tempo got fast. And when all of those things happen, we're no longer creating the same golf swing that we were on the range 5 minutes before. So our state impacts our golf swing, and our golf swing creates the outcome of the shot. So the next question we ask at FlowCode then is, what creates our state? Where does our state come from? Now, we believe that our emotions create our state. The feelings that we're experiencing create our state. Because if I'm angry, if I'm frustrated, if I'm nervous, if I'm upset, what does that do to my heart rate? It increases. What does that do to my grip pressure? It tightens. What does that do to my tempo? It speeds up. So my emotions play a role in impacting my state. So we pull another layer back and we say, okay, if emotions play a key role, which I know everyone listening agrees with, where do our emotions come from? Now at FlowCode, we believe that your thoughts create your emotions. A lot of people believe that the situation or the circumstance creates your emotions. Let me give an example. If I'm stood on the driving range with a driver in my hand, and I put a ball down and put it on the tee, and let's say I stand over that shot and I hit it 30 yards right on the driving range with my driver in hand. Now let's take myself to the first tee box. All my friends are watching me. I've maybe got my coach watching me as well. It's maybe the club championships and we're on the first tee and all the members are watching. It's a big tournament. I want to play well. And we're in that same scenario. We stand on that first tee box. We put the ball down. We put it on the tee. And we hit one 30 yards right off that first tee box. Will my emotions, my emotional reaction be the same or different in those two scenarios? Again, you can answer this in your mind. But my guess is that your emotional reaction is going to be very different on the driving range versus on the first tee box. But why is that? Because you hit the same bad shot. You hit it 30 yards right in both scenarios. So if it was the bad shot that made you angry, why weren't you angry on the range as well as on the first tee? Well, at FlowCode, we believe that it's the thought, the meaning that you assign to the bad shot that creates the emotion, not the bad shot itself. Because on the range, you hit that 30 yards right, doesn't really mean anything. You put another ball down, you go again. Doesn't really matter, no meaning, we go again. But on the first tee box, that means I've embarrassed myself in front of my friends. That means all the members laughed at me. That means that I'm going to play poorly in this tournament. That means my handicap's going to go up. That means coach will be disappointed. That means. All the meaning that we assign to that shot is what creates the anger, the frustration, the disappointment, etc. So we believe at FlowCode that it's the thought that creates the emotion, not the circumstance itself. So our thoughts, our mindset plays an incredibly important role in the emotions that we experience. So the final question then is, what impacts our thoughts? Well, we can't control our thoughts, but we can at least set an intention of where we hold our focus, and that can influence the thoughts that we experience. So the final step that we reverse engineer back to is focus. Flow follows focus. Being able to hold your focus in the present moment is absolutely a superpower, especially in today's world where we're distracted by everything. Everyone's trying to get ownership of our attention. Being able to hold your focus on what's relevant in the present moment is incredibly powerful, because where focus goes, energy flows. So we start with focus. That's the root cause of this entire chain reaction, all the way to the outcome, the result of the shot. And let me run you through an example to explain that. Let's imagine ourselves, we can close our eyes for a moment. Let's imagine ourselves out on the golf course and we're on a par 3. We walk up onto the tee box of a par 3. We stand up on that tee box and go through our pre-shot routine. And as we're over the ball, we look up to the left and our focus, our eyes, goes onto this water all up the left-hand side. Let's imagine our focus now, as we're over the ball, is purely on the water. What thought will pop into our mind when our eyes and our focus goes onto the water? Again, you can answer this in your mind, but my guess is for most people, it's going to be something along the lines of, don't go in the water. And when that thought pops into your head of don't go in the water, how does that make us feel? What emotions are created? Probably some anxiety, probably some nerves. And when we feel anxiety and we feel nerves, what does that do to our heart rate? What does it do to our state? Heart rate increases, grip pressure becomes tight, and our tempo gets fast. And when those things are experienced, we're no longer producing the same golf swing that we were on the driving range. We make a poor golf swing, and the outcome of the shot is in the water. So you can see how very quickly our focus and where we hold our focus creates a chain reaction that impacts our ability to access our best golf swing, and that dictates the outcome of the shot. But it doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to just give in and kind of accept our fate that we're going to hit this in the water. We can decide to improve our focus, reframe our thoughts, control our emotions, and manage our state. Because when we do those things, we can access our best golf swing on a more consistent basis, which means we can hit better golf shots and shoot lower scores. So let's do a very quick example as we run through that par 3 shot. And let's imagine that we improve our focus, we reframe our thoughts, we control our emotions, and we manage our state. And let's walk through that process. What could we do differently in that scenario to create a more positive outcome? So let's go back to the start. Let's imagine we're walking up onto the tee box of that par 3 again. Let's imagine we go through our pre-shot routine. And as we stand over the ball, this time as we look up, instead of our focus going onto the water, our focus goes onto what's relevant and what we want. What's relevant and what we want to achieve. So instead of focus going onto the water, our focus goes, I will start this shot 20 feet left of the flag on that tree. It's going to fade back 10 feet, finishing in line with that stone. It will land 15 feet short of the flag, release 5 feet to give myself a 10-foot uphill putt, and I'm going to hit it about a 3-floor trajectory. Now, I know that might seem extreme. I'm not expecting everyone to go through that same level of detail, but the more specific, the more clear you can be with that visualization and that commitment and that self-talk, your focus is now on what you want, not on what you don't want. And if your focus is on that, if my focus is on 20 feet left of the flag on that tree, fading back 10 feet, finishing 15 feet short, releasing 5 feet, going through the 3rd floor of the window, if my focus is there, what thoughts are likely to pop into my head? Am I likely to think, don't go in the water? maybe still, but I'm a lot more likely to think something like, you've got this, let's go. And when I think those things, how does that make me feel? Confident, probably a bit calmer, maybe even excited. And when I feel those things, what happens to my heart rate? It lowers. What happens to my grip pressure? It releases. What happens to my tempo? It becomes more smooth. And when those things are experienced, I'm much more likely to access my best golf swing. And when I access my best golf swing, I hit better golf shots and I shoot lower scores. That's how the entire performance loop works. So hopefully every single one of you can see how immediately we can improve our focus, we can reframe our thoughts, we can control our emotions, we can manage our state, and every single one of those things are skills. They're skills that can be developed, skills that can be trained. They're not things we're born with, they're things that can grow, they're things that can develop. But in order to develop any of those skills, we have to train them. We have to work on them on a daily basis. No different to how if I want to grow my bicep, which I definitely do need to do, I can't read a book or listen to a podcast on how to get a bigger bicep and then wake up tomorrow and have huge biceps. It just doesn't work that way. I wish that was, but it doesn't. Instead, I have to go to the gym, I have to pick up the dumbbell, and I have to do the bicep curls over and over and over again. And only when I repeat that consistently over a long period of time will gradually my biceps start to grow. The mind is no different. Being able to improve your focus, reframe your thoughts, control your emotions, manage your state, they're no different to growing your biceps. We have to show up. We have to train this stuff on a daily basis through practical exercises that we can repeat consistently. And that's what FlowCode is here to help you do, to give you that place, to give you that location where you can train your mind every single day. It's your gym for your mind, or your range for your mind, that digital location that you can rely on in order to develop the skills that we mentioned. Now, the reality is that doing those things don't guarantee you're going to hit a great golf shot, of course, right? But if you do all of those 4 things and you still hit a poor golf shot, you can blame your swing coach. That's nothing to do with us. I'm joking. But the reality is, if you do those 4 things, you're going to give yourself the best opportunity to hit a great golf shot. Not guarantee it, but give yourself the best opportunity. So thank you guys. I wanted to go back over this performance loop because we've shared it many times in many channels, but I always want to go back to one of the most important and one of the most foundational concepts that we share at FlowCode, which is our performance loop. And reminding us, why do we even consider the mental game? Why do we spend the time training the mental game? We have to remind ourselves that it's not just for fun. Sometimes it can be, but it's to help us shoot lower scores. It's to help us hit better golf shots, and it's to help us enjoy the game more. So this performance loop connects all of those components together to ensure that you're all moving towards those goals. So thank you again. Really appreciate you all taking the time. Thank you all for listening. Any feedback on any of these sessions, please let us know. But until the next one, I'll see you soon.